And now, for your listening pleasure, I present to you, live on the Overdose Talk Network, it's the Geek for All Show.
It's live now!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Geek for All Show, and I am your host, Geekmeister, with my faithful co-host, Professor Weirdfuck.
Greetings.
We are joined tonight by our panelist, Sam, who is just back from Comic-Con and is going to be telling us all about that in a little bit. And then a little bit later from then, we're joined by Nathan Kilthorne of Affinity Archives, and he's going to be telling us some about what they're doing. But in the meantime, we unfortunately do have some kind of sad news to be starting the show with today. I'm sure many of you have seen this online floating around, but Nintendo's CEO, Satoru Iwata, has passed away. And it really is a very, very sad period for Nintendo. If you guys aren't familiar with him, he's been the CEO since 2000, and he basically is responsible for everything that has come out since GameCube and has been involved in it in one way or the other. And the thing that's really interesting about him is that, unlike most gaming CEOs, he didn't come up in the business end of things. You know, he wasn't promoted from accounting or from, case management or whatever. He was a designer. He knew how to make games and was put in charge because he knew how to make games.
He was also the first CEO not to be related to the rest of the family.
Yep.
Which is in Japan huge.
That
never
God.
happens.
Yeah,
never
that's
happens.
insane.
Especially for a developer. Like if it was somebody who, again, from like the business side or something like that. Mm-hmm. But he's not related to anybody that previously ran the company, and he was a developer. So the fact that he did that, it's huge.
Yeah. He was only 55 when he passed. Apparently, for the last couple of years, he had a tumor in his gallbladder that they had to remove sometime last year. And that's why he hasn't been at E3 for the last couple of years. We were talking about this a little bit last time as, what's going on with Nintendo? Why aren't we seeing as much from them? Unfortunately, we have the explanation. We've got a CEO who was in the process of dying for the last couple of years and was trying to keep it very quiet and not burden his fans with it.
Yeah, it was pretty quiet. So quiet that he was actually at like a conference like a couple weeks before and talked to somebody like the day before, and they had like no idea that there was anything going on with him.
Yep.
So
yeah, and then that's why also in the E3 videos that were there, you saw this puppet of him going around in a lot of those videos, and I was wondering, like, what's with this puppet and everything? And again, we've got a guy who is extremely sick and just trying to not burden his fans with it, which, I don't even know, like, if I like that or if I wish he had talked to us about it, but it's a very, very sad day for gamers everywhere. So, we just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge his work and his passing, and pay our condolences to his family and his friends and to everyone at Nintendo. You will be missed. You absolutely will be. All right, let's move on to something a little bit lighter then. It is Shark Week, and so I went looking for some Shark Week news, and what I came across was really, really funny. There was a case. It's got to be in England. I couldn't confirm which country this was in, but somebody got hit by an inflatable shark and actually charged the guy with assault.
Really?
Is the way that this... Yeah, that's what's going on here. Let's see, what is the... Let's see, the town of Grimsby, which certainly sounds English as shit to me. Again, I couldn't figure out if it was actually England there, but the other towns that they're talking about, like around it and everything. But apparently this was all over a football match. The local football team, soccer for us Americans, but the local soccer football team won. And, so this gentleman was out, celebrating in the field and everything, and, like waving around this inflatable shark, and I guess hit one of the attendants at the park, and the guy actually pressed charges against him. And here's the crazier part. He was convicted.
Of assault?
Of assault. He was convicted of assault with a I can't stress this enough.
Inflatable shark.
Inflatable shark.
People are stupid and will do anything for a quick buck, man.
I know, right?
I disagree. I think sharks are dangerous predators.
Especially when they're in plastic inflatable.
Inflatable?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, plastic causes cancer.
Oh, hitting them
Cancer
with
is
the
shark.
cancer.
Yeah, that seems like more effort than it's worth.
Really worth? Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say, I'm gonna, make a ruling on this. This is the lamest Shark Week story that there could be.
Oh, I know. That's kind of honestly why I went with it, because I typed in Shark Week news and this was the first thing to pop up, which made me laugh my ass off. That apparently we are so bored with sharks that this is what we're going to.
Well, I was gonna say actually, I think the most boring story was no shark attacks this week because there really aren't that many.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing about Shark Week. One of the coolest episodes I saw was nothing about shark attacks or anything like that. There's this guy would go deep sea diving not deep sea, I guess, just as deep sharks go. I don't fucking know, but he would swim with the sharks, and the whole saying of the whole you got to punch a shark in the nose because that's where it's most sensitive during a shark attack. This guy, he would be swimming with the sharks and just petting them on the nose, and they would be pretty much acting like dogs.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
It was fucking awesome. He even got a great white.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sharks are rad.
Sharks are pretty rad. They're obviously something that you got to respect if you're going to be playing around with them or whatever, because they can and potentially will take a fucking bite out of you. But yeah, it is pretty rare. Shark attacks are kind of mild for the most part, as far as I can tell. But anyway, that was it was Shark Week, so I thought some Shark Week news would be fun, and that story popped up, and I just had to share that was a thing that's going on apparently, and is worthy of Shark Week news, I guess, according to Google. But anyway, our main thing as far as news today is Sam, our panelist, just got back from San Diego Comic. Oh wait,
guys,
we're
jumping the gun.
We are
here.
jumping the gun. We're jumping the gun big time.
In case you guys haven't realized this, but America challenged Japan to a giant robot fight at the beginning of this month. Now, Japan has made giant robots, made a giant robot before, about a couple years ago, and it's pretty impressive. Really impressive. I'm going to post some stuff on the page right now about it, a couple of videos, but at the beginning of this month, very American-like, these two guys decided to make a giant robot and make a video walking around their factory wearing American flags, challenging Japan to a giant robot fight. Now, the American robot is basically a glorified bobcat with big guns.
It looks like a Big Daddy from BioShock, on treads.
That mixed with the thing from Aliens.
Right.
That Ripley.
Oh, right.
Thing.
The weird,
kinda
open
does.
mech thing.
The forklift.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Like I said, it's a glorified bobcat.
It really is.
And then you look at the Japanese one, which has all this technology.
It's
all
a Leo
this,
with wheels.
It's pretty much, if you're familiar with Gundam, or Gundam Wing specifically, it's a Leo with wheels. It's a one-person piloted thing with 2 miniguns on each arm. The fingers are completely bendable and posable on this one. And in the response to Japan accepting this battle, they said, "Oh yeah, well what we're mainly focusing on now is melee." So I mean, you can almost expect during this battle, this Japanese robot is going to pull out a giant fucking sword and just destroy the American one.
I mean, I don't think anybody's really expecting America to win this particular fight.
No,
I don't think
Japan.
I mean, yeah, no, I think the only reason it was done is because 2 Americans just decided, it'd be awesome, mech fights. Yeah, but I don't know if that's ever really going to happen. Well, we could make one and challenge Japan.
Right, because you know who's going to step up.
Right.
Japan.
There's no way Japan gets challenged to big giant robot fight and doesn't say yes.
Right.
Well, what's the guy's name? The Kurata's, Japanese robot is called the Kurata, is named after the creator. And what he said in his acceptance video is that, well, yeah, we're gonna win because giant robots are part of Japanese culture.
Right.
We have to win. And like it's funny because in the video he is like, when I saw the video, I was like, come on, guys, at least make it look cooler. It looks super American.
He really did accurately trash the aesthetics of the American robot. It's
Totally.
it's clunky looking. It looks like it's so obvious whose is who.
Right. And I mean, the American one is a 2-person piloted one, and the Japanese one is 1 person. Like,
Isn't the challenge happening in like a week though?
No,
it's
it's
a
like a
year.
year.
I mean,
from
a
now.
year. That's what I meant. Like, it's happening in like a year. So here's my theory: is that being the typical Americans, we're totally making a feint. We're bluffing.
Oh, yeah.
Bluffing them right now.
That's kind of
We're
what
like,
I'm
this
thinking.
is our robot, and then we're gonna get there, and it's going to be a freaking awesome robot. But I counter by saying Japan already expected us to lie to them, so theirs is going to be even better by that time. I imagine that the robots really used are going to be way more badass than the ones we saw in those videos.
Probably. I mean, yeah, they've got a year to get ready for this thing and do
Yeah.
upgrades. So yeah, they've got plenty of time to add all kinds of fun bells and whistles to their creations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're both gonna. I mean, if America is like putting like just a front, fake little crappy robot, and like just to kind of psych them out, I highly doubt it. First of all, I mean, it's just so typical. It's just very typical. I honestly just think they challenged knowing they were gonna probably lose just for the sake of having a mech battle.
Yeah, just starting mech battles up.
Which is totally fine too.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of cool.
Considering what was it? BattleBots started again.
Yeah, I know, right? Weird timing.
So,
Actually,
coming back.
that probably wasn't an accident. I'm sure the battle
No.
thing is probably related somehow.
That's gonna be the new BattleBots.
right.
Yeah. And then it's gonna go into war, and then the world's just gonna go to shit.
I disagree. I don't think the military's going to look at it and be like, robots, totally feasible. Yeah.
Obviously, it is though.
Well, okay,
I don't
here's
know.
the thing. They're feasible for like
I mean,
a
maybe
big
if they
arena that you put them into. I don't see either one of those actually like going into military action.
You
and
do
being
realize
super
both
effective.
of you do realize that both of these like American engineer and the Japanese engineer both work for the military.
You mean projects
and-
the military have started and then scrapped like toward the end of it because they finally went, oh yeah, that's kind of silly.
It makes much less sense to use a giant robot and instead use something that can fly or be able to pinpoint you from across the world and shoot you over the horizon.
I'm just saying, robot v drone. I'm picking drone.
Robot versus drone. You think the drone would win?
is the drone connected to a satellite that can shoot missiles down upon them?
Yes,
Oh, well then, yeah.
Oh yeah.
that's like my whole point. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. It could be potentially kind of a scary ramification, or it could just be like, yeah, they're developing them theoretically for the military, and it never winds up really going anywhere.
Could lead to power armor. That'd be pretty cool.
Well,
I mean,
see,
terrifying.
They've
That's where
already
it's-
started working on that.
yeah,
yeah.
see, that's
Yeah.
the
Years
terrifying
ago.
application is the smaller combat efficient power armor bodysuit. Like that's where things get really, really scary. But on from scary things to just things that we enjoy talking about. Now we are going to be moving on to Sam's adventures at Comic-Con San Diego.
Yay.
So you're there this year, and there was lots of fun, exciting things that I think all of us know about. But you got into kind of some of the more not exclusive panels, but sort of side, peripheral sort of panels and stuff. That's kind of what you spent your weekend doing. So why don't you tell us about that? What was going on? What's happening? Oh, but before, sorry, I have to ask you one thing. What's going on with Hall H? Okay, because here's the deal. I keep every article I read, somebody's got something to say about Hall H, and it's usually bad.
Hall H. So if anybody who doesn't know SDCC or hasn't been up on it, Hall H is basically it's the giant panel room that it seats 6,500 people, and you have to sit in line for you have to camp. So probably 8 I've seen people who've camped out for 12, 18 hours to get wristbands in order to sit in the room. And since Comic-Con doesn't clear their rooms, you can camp for any panel that you want. And those panels that go in there are always the big ones. It's Doctor Who, it's Supernatural, it's all the Marvel stuff. WB had one. The Batman versus Superman stuff had one. The Star Wars had one. J.J. Abrams had one that was so big. So every time it's filled, J.J. Abrams actually did the Star Wars panel with the new cast and then invited all 6,500 people outside to a Star Wars concert with fireworks.
I heard about that.
Right before Kevin Smith's panel. So he cleared the hall right before Kevin Smith's panel.
Yeah, I heard Kevin Smith got really screwed over by that Star Wars
big
concert.
Time. But Hall H, so they always show exclusive stuff. And the biggest source for trailers and shit is the bootleg from Hall H, because people have their cell phones out, and it's always huge, and it's really hard to get into. And for us, we decided not to camp out because we would miss the rest of the convention. Because it's relatively difficult to get in, considering there's 120,000 people that go.
Well, I mean, the other thing is too is that they wind up for a lot of these bigger panels, like whether or not it's San Diego Comic-Con or one of the smaller ones, they wind up releasing videos for it eventually online anyway.
Right,
so
everybody posts news on it and stuff, so you're really not going to miss anything too extremely exclusive.
You just won't be there for it.
Right.
So yeah, we'll talk about the leaked footage here in a little bit because that's something that more people generally know about. Let's get into some of the less known stuff. What were you doing there? What were you investigating?
The big thing we did, it was me and another friend of ours that we were there for reporting on from another site that we're on. So it was a lot of literary stuff, but in the meantime, while we were waiting for certain other panels, we got to see a lot of inside stuff. Like there was one panel I sat through that was the writers for DC. And they were releasing all their new stuff, all their new comics that are coming out, or at least comics that are coming out in the next 6 weeks or so. And one of the things they announced was a Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
It's actually, I'll post the cover that they posted on Facebook in a minute. But they ended up, so he was talking about it and how I guess it's the Ninja Turtles, it's the Turtles and the bad guys, so the Ninja Turtle and the bad guys and all this other stuff.
The Foot Clan?
The Foot Clan and Shredder and everybody in Gotham. And then Batman hooks up with the Turtles, and it's only 6 issues, so it's going to be a short run. And it's just kind of like this fun thing that they
okay. Is it the 66 Batman?
I don't know.
Because if it's the 66 Batman, I'm kind of okay with this. Like 66 Batman, totally. Like for sure, like Adam West with the Turtles. Are you kidding me?
No, it's like not necessarily New 52 Batman, but it's like
but it's a real Batman.
It's a real Batman.
Well,
so it's not like campy or anything. It's like
see, now you've
they
lost
actually
me.
do it.
Now you've lost me.
Well, I mean, the whole idea of that, I mean, that just sounds like they're really reaching. It's like it's
no kidding.
Not a I don't know. That's not a practical idea. I never in my life would I imagine to team up Ninja Turtles and Batman. I mean, the last time they teamed Ninja Turtles up with someone, it was teaming them up with the Power Rangers, and that did not go so well.
I vaguely remember that.
It was
that
terrible.
It was really. I wasn't even that old. Like I was at an age where I could accept terrible things from time to time, and even I was like, no.
All right, so I have a proposition for this, is that they take the turtles out, right? They just kind of like put them in a sewer and they get to hang out with Croc. Yeah. And the whole time, Batman gets to fight Shredder and the Foot Clan, because that would actually be a good nemesis, because there's an army, an organized army, something Batman doesn't normally have to fight. And then Shredder is a martial arts master, so it's actually a pretty good fight.
That would be cool.
If you don't include turtles.
So
no, the Turtles versus Croc, that's an awesome idea.
They did say Croc was going to make an appearance. And if it's only 6 issues, then obviously that's probably going to be one of the few like Batman villains that shows up. So yeah, they did say that Croc was going to show up.
I mean, the thing that initially bothers me with this is like, and this is kind of a really weird thing to get bothered by, but okay, so Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are from New York City, and Batman's from Gotham.
It would make more sense to team the Ninja Turtles up with Spider-Man.
Right?
Yeah.
Marvel is a very more colorful type of fun comic book company than DC, and like that just makes more sense to me.
Also, I mean, like, let's just forget the companies for a second. Let's compare Spider-Man to Batman for a second and just look at that as far as like a team up. Like
same. Well,
it's so much an easier. Like, okay, Batman would not know a good joke if it bitten him in the cape. Terry McGinnis said this in the Batman Beyond movie, and it's true. He has no sense of humor. The Joker gets him to laugh once, and out of total madness. Like, not because he really thought it was funny, just because he was totally fucking cracking at that point. Mm-hmm. Like, this man does not laugh at things. He barely smiles, and usually it's really, really kind of an evil smile when he's doing it. And you're going to pair him up with Cowabunga?
Yeah.
Why would you not take the smart-ass, wisecracking photographer who's in the same city as the Turtles, so you don't have to explain any of that away? Like, he's just a better fit in every possible capacity.
Yeah, I guess DC got to it first, obviously.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, here's the thing.
But yeah.
There are other characters in DC that,
Right.
you know, like, shit, put him with the Flash.
Yeah.
The Flash and the Turtles might be fun. That could be cool. I could see the back chat on that being kind of entertaining and shit, but not Batman.
Well,
what are you doing?
Except for the balance of power. I mean, the reason Batman is cool and works with any type of like superheroes because for some reason, because he's so awesome, he's a great neutralizer. But if you put the Flash with the Turtles, it would be like, all right, what's your nemesis? Oh, it's Shredder. I already beat him. But
Yeah.
we just
Like
told
that.
you about him. Yeah, I know. I went and I
no.
beat him. It's over.
It's all good. It's taken care of. He's good.
We're done.
Eat some
Yeah.
pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. But I mean, still, even if it was, there are other more jovial characters, certainly, in the DC universe that could have been
Right.
picked for this mashup. And they went with Batman clearly because they're trying to sell some comics.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's even a good marketing move. I think it's really just it's such a slap job, to be perfectly. Now here's my thing. I would actually read these comics if it was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Batman. I don't know why
Yeah.
that would be a thing, but if that was the thing, like, I would do that because those would be interesting fights to like watch play out in a panel.
I think I'd be more angry about that because it would be wasting money on watching 4 panels of watching Batman beat the Ninja Turtles and being like, wow, this comic's literally 1 page long.
Well, I guess according to the
Each
comic
panel for a
books now too. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Ninja Turtles as their own series, but as far as I'm concerned, I did some brushing up on like the Ninja Turtles universe or what's going on in their timeline right now. Donatello's dead.
Yeah, he just died.
Yeah, he what was it? Was it Bebop? Oh no, Rocksteady broke his shell.
Oh, that's
Oh
how it
yeah,
happened.
yeah.
I was actually talking about it earlier in a car. I was hoping he was just like kind of killed by a foot soldier because, I mean, I don't know. You just kind of V for vendetta it sometimes, and it's just like, oh man, what a coincidence! Like they actually got him.
Yeah,
But that's still pretty cool.
well, I mean, and also they're, you know, a lot of people had a lot of problems with that, but at the same time, they were like, that's actually a big step for Ninja Turtles, like doing something that drastic.
That radical and drastic.
yeah.
Exactly.
As
And,
long as it's
and
a
now,
direction.
and now the writers are thinking of taking it back.
No, don't Superman it.
No.
Keep him dead.
Yeah.
Do not Superman
that bullshit.
Donatello.
Superman died, and then they brought back, what was the robot Superman?
Oh, there was like 3 different ones
Yeah.
floating
They do-
around, and then him.
and then Superboy.
Nobody ever dies. No superheroes ever die.
Not
Not
since
for-
that.
No.
Not since that moment.
No.
That broke all moments.
Yeah.
If they had kept him dead, it would have been like, oh, all right, well, you know,
Right.
Superheroes
that's what
can die.
happens.
Yeah.
Superheroes die.
Yeah.
Oh well.
You know.
That's how we go. Okay, so you walked in on a panel and discovered that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Batman are gonna have a thing.
Yep.
So any other like totally ass backward ideas that you saw presented?
There was one panel we went to called Tattooing the Law, Legal Lessons in Star Wars. It was hosted by 2 lawyers and a judge.
What?
And it was... Jimmy's giving me this weird look.
No, I'm waiting.
So it was... They put up this PowerPoint, and it was certain cases that happen in Star Wars and they like debated or they explained either why it would work based on like Earth law, like our law, I guess you would have to say it, or why it shouldn't have worked. So things like who has true ownership of R2-D2, or does Anakin have what was it? Could he be put on trial for murder of all the Sand People because of the murder of his parents? Shit like that.
Did they talk about Han Solo acting in self-defense?
Yes, they did.
Yes.
Yes, they did.
All right.
And they said that they did that one, and then they did also, it did Obi-Wan act in self-defense in the same cantina.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
when he cuts off the dude's arm.
Right.
Even though they acted before they could.
Right. Well, the thing was that with Obi-Wan, because the law is that if you are protecting somebody else who is being threatened, it's still technically self-defense. So he was in the right, and he would have been in the right in any sort of like trial or anything like that. For Han, they said yes, like he was in the right for it because technically, it depends on how you want to say it.
He did have a gun in his hand.
There was a gun in his hand.
Greedo did have a gun.
And there was intent to kill.
Yeah.
Like he already threatened him. There was an obvious threat, so Han had the right to do it.
Okay.
So they kind of like they went through and they talked about stuff like that, or like who really owns C-3PO. Like is technically Leia sending them off to this mission abandonment, or shit like that, or like who ultimately owns him because of people dying and inheriting the robot, the droids and all that shit. Because technically, they both start separately, and then through the lines they become owned by one person.
Well, I mean, at a certain point, you gotta also think these robots are sentient.
Right. Well, that was another thing. Was that like is torturing robots a thing? Like, can you do robots feel pain, and can you torture them? Because there is a torture scene.
Yeah.
Another thing to point out is Luke's only 16 when his Uncle Ben dies. So who gets custody of him? Because technically Ben just kidnapped him.
It's okay. This is another thing I'm going to bring up. This is fun to talk about, but we also have to realize Tatooine's like the Wild West.
Right.
Oh, there are no laws there. No.
And they obviously went by like our laws, not
right.
Right.
No, like I said, it is fun to think about, but at the same time, it's like there wouldn't be any laws,
right?
Yeah.
At
least on Tatooine. Now, if we're talking about Alderaan or
any of the core planets,
right? Yeah, things like that. So yeah, it was interesting to kind of see what they thought, and like to explain it in legal terms about how these certain aspects kind of fit. So it was really interesting. It was really fun.
That is pretty
cool.
It kind of like makes Jedi beg that question of the Minority Report,
right?
If
you
see something before it happens and you act upon it, is it legal? Is it just?
Right.
Meh.
So yeah, that was kind of like the fun panel we went to.
That doesn't sound like a lot of fun.
There wasn't so much news. It was just kind of there and fun.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard to pass that like. Laws in Star Wars. What?
Right. Exactly.
What is that? What does that even mean? I have to go find that out.
That's kind of exactly what we said too. We got to see a couple. I saw one full pilot and then also clips of another new show. The first new show is Colony, which is by the guy who the showrunner of Lost. It's got Josh Holloway, who's also in Lost. He plays Sawyer. And then I can't remember her name, but the woman who plays Lori in Walking Dead is in it too.
Okay.
She's actually pretty funny. Like in real life, she's funny. Because the clip came up and I kind of groaned because I don't like Lori. I don't like her. And in Proxy,
she's a dislikable character.
She is. And in Proxy, I don't like the actress because that's the only thing I know her from. And the same kind of vibe I got from the clip, but then when she would talk during the panel, she was funny. And she was really cool. So I was like, all right, maybe I'll give it a shot. Basically, Colony is this whole thing about, they film it in LA, and it's this, basically what happens is, you don't know why or how it happens, but this giant wall gets set around LA. Like the 405 gets cut off, everybody is cut off from their friends, their family, whatever, and it's this, basically this hostile takeover. We don't know who it is that's taking over. All we know is that it's like this totalitarian government where everyone has IDs on, everyone has to be tracked. There's no in or out unless you're like a specific like role. They can enter your home. They can, do all these things that basically make you prisoner in LA.
Right.
And it's about Josh Holloway, who's this father who is escaping to try and find his middle son, who got separated from them.
Gotcha.
So the clips we saw, it was interesting. I don't think I would keep up with it necessarily. I think I would like binge watch it on Netflix kind of thing.
Right.
Because they did like a whole thing where they had the offensive force was all dressed in like military red berets, blah blah blah, and they had them running around the city, and they had them running like jeeps and pedicabs and all this stuff, so you could like tweet and post pictures and all this shit and everything. They actually had one of the actors from Lost show up, ask a question about why Lost had ended, and then get dragged off by the soldiers.
That's kind of funny, actually.
So it was kind of funny. It was kind of lame because you're like, oh, you're trying so hard.
Like a hunk of cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. I don't know if necessarily I would watch it, but the clips are all online too. I think the clips that they showed, or at least the trailers up online.
And what was the title again?
Colony.
Colony. Gotcha.
So like the premise is really interesting. So I guess we'll have to see.
How well it's actually executed.
How well it's actually executed. Because the thought of it is amazing.
Oh yeah, no, it's a really cool idea.
Well, okay, all right. Well, this guy who creates Lost, didn't he also do what other TV shows he's done? I know he's done a few. Was he the one who did Jericho?
Maybe.
Because
I
if
wanna
he,
say yes,
I want to say
but-
yes because it's almost the exact damn thing as Lost. It's like, yes, completely different concepts, completely different storyline, but it's always the same thing of like, oh my God, this crazy thing is happening. Why is it happening?
Right.
I don't know. Oh my God, another clue that just opens 1,000 more questions, and we're never gonna find out.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Oh no,
is
but
cool.
we found out they were all dead.
No, they kind of leave it open. Like, from what I hear, I get different answers from different people. I gave up on Lost,
Oh, God
but
forbid you go back and try and rewatch it.
no,
All like 8 seasons of it.
no way. I mean, I tried, but then it's like my favorite characters died. And it's like there's no one else I like.
You all suck.
Yeah. The second pilot, I actually got to see the whole pilot, was Lucifer, which is a new show that's going on Fox. I don't really know if I like it on Fox. But it's based off of the Sandman Lucifer. So they took Sandman Lucifer. They started when he escapes hell. He says, "Fuck you guys, I'm leaving," and leaves. He goes to LA, he opens up a nightclub and just kind of messes with people. He still he'll still kind of like buy souls, quote unquote. At least from the gist I got from the pilot. But he pretty much does what Lucifer would do. He kind of dicks around. He listens to rock music. He's kind of like, I guess the actor kind of described him as like Mick Jagger.
Nice.
So he listens to music. The opening scene is him in this sports car zipping down like an LA street, and "Ain't No Rest for the Wicked" by Cage the Elephant's playing.
Cool.
Cool.
So it was kind of campy a little bit at times.
Now, wasn't there? I remember reading vaguely that there was like a second like devil show also getting like released at the same time, wasn't there? Or announced or something?
Maybe because
So I think it was Damien was what it was called.
Yeah,
Did you hear anything about that?
I didn't hear anything about that.
Okay,
one.
fair
It
enough.
was just Lucifer that was there.
Okay.
I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
I there's one issue I have with it, and is that I don't feel like they can ever bring the Sandman on. Like, he can't make an appearance because they've tried to make a movie with it, and they straight up said, they're like, there's no one we can think of that can play him because he's not a human. He's not mortal.
Right.
It doesn't work.
He's this
Benedict
ethereal
Cumberbatch.
being.
You know what, you would think that, but there's just something about it. Benedict Cumberbatch is a little bit too quirky. I know.
But comparatively, I agree. Like he's this ethereal kind of being that you can see people that look like him, but not necessarily people that can act like him.
I mean, if there was one
suppose.
person, Benedict Cumberbatch would. That's the closest.
I mean,
one
he's
I can think
he's
of.
very inhuman
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. Like, he kind of just. Oh, you know what? Hang on. Wait, what's the name of the swimmer who looks like a fish? Michael
I don't remember.
Phelps or something like that. Anyway,
Oh,
whatever.
Michael Phelps?
Yeah.
Who took like a big ass bong grip and
Yep.
had to give his medals away or
Yep,
something?
yep,
Dude
yep.
who only
Well,
won
yeah,
for
because that
winning
makes you a
medals.
better swimmer, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, totally.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. But him
I
too.
mean,
But him
I mean,
too.
if there's like a Hostess cupcake at the bottom of the pool for sure.
His coach is just sitting at the other line. Come on, boy. Come on.
Find that cream filling.
Come get the Scooby snack. You know you want it. Come on.
No,
that is
Lucifer
excited.
sounds good.
Yeah.
I like anything that has to do with the devil. Honestly,
Yeah.
he's like the best character in the Bible. And I went to Catholic school for 8 years.
Did you? That's funny. Did you read like the Sandman series? at all?
No, I haven't. I actually like. Honestly, I'm gonna say straight up. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm not going to go into the logistics of it, but the main character, the Sandman, he is one of the most powerful beings in the universe, and Satan is nothing compared to him.
Right.
However, he does something to really like screw Satan over, and in return, Satan gives up hell. He's like, I'm done with hell. You can have it. And somehow that causes the fall of the main character.
Okay.
Like they do that in like the second book, and it causes the rest of the momentum for the rest of the series.
I think someone might have told me about this series. Are there other characters in this series that
Yes.
like Death?
Yeah,
Yep.
Death is
Yep.
in it.
Okay, yeah. Someone has totally
Death
told me
is
about
the-
this.
Death
Is the main character's
it's
sister.
Death.
Grief.
Okay.
Is one of them. I think. I think like anger is there.
There's
as
like a
well.
knowledge one or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember its name.
Well, I'm definitely not checking out this series until I read it.
It's
Yeah,
it's
and
worth
they
the
said
read.
it's kind
yeah.
of a jumping point. Like, obviously, it's not going to be panel for panel or anything like that. It's more of a jumping point of not necessarily when he says "screw you," I'm leaving, but after that. So, but it looks interesting. It's kind of a procedural show as well, like a crime procedural, because the pilot is him witnessing his friend getting murdered, and obviously he can't die. So it kind of puts him in like he gets passionate about it, and he realizes that he can actually like not help because he's still the devil and
Right.
duh. But he kind of decides, you know what, fuck it, why not? I'll do this thing for a little bit and see what happens. So I think it'll be interesting. I don't know if it's necessarily something that I think Fox is trying to
Now here's
pick up the supernatural
okay
aspect of
yeah.
things, like not necessarily like fight against supernatural ratings or like Vampire Diary ratings, but they need something that's
in that
that's
mode.
in that
yeah.
mode, and I think that's what they're trying to do.
That makes sense. Here's my question: is Gaiman involved with it at all?
I know he knows of it, and I know they consulted him on some of it, but he's not going to be nearly as involved with it as he will be with American Gods.
That's, I mean, well, if you have to pick one American, I'd rather him be involved with
Right.
American Gods, frankly.
Exactly.
But
Wait, are they redoing American Gods?
HBO? Oh no, Stars picked it up.
I have such a nerd boner.
Oh
right
God,
now.
let's talk about Stars real quick. Ash versus the Evil Dead.
Yeah, they
Oh,
premiered that too. I
man.
missed that one. They premiered it there too, and they
it
had a whole
looks
big thing.
so
have you
good.
I
have you
didn't
seen
see
the
it.
trailer
I
yet?
didn't see the trailer
No?
yet. No.
Oh man, on our break, I gotta show you.
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I mean-
Jimmy, actually, make sure you throw that trailer up on the Facebook page right now.
Again?
But no, seriously, the Evil Dead trailer is so. First of all, it's the beginning of it. Bruce Campbell is putting on a girdle.
Oh,
I mean, like that's just like right from the start. It's just yes.
Don't give too much away.
Yes.
No, it's awesome because it's just pretty much Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi realizing that they're doing this show because the fans won't shut up. In an interview that Bruce Campbell had, he went up to Sam Raimi and he's like, guys, you don't know what it's like. You don't go to these conventions. These kids are making my life a living hell.
Oh, yeah.
And so they did the Evil Dead reboot. That wasn't enough because
Right.
there wasn't Ash. There wasn't like classic Evil Dead and had a higher budget. Don't get me wrong. I like a higher budget tree rape scene, but
The Evil Dead has never been about high budget.
No,
I don't think it works
no.
if it has a high budget.
no, and that's what he mentions in the interview. Bruce Campbell is like, I'm talking to Sam Raimi, who does Spider-Man and Oz the Great and Powerful, who has like $75 million movie budgets. And he's like, now we want to do Evil Dead again. And he's like, we probably shouldn't use that type of budget.
Just like gives him like $10 out of his pocket and says, "Here, make a movie."
like here
Right.
you go. You got your old costume, right? You still fit into it. It's fine.
And that's the thing too. It's like totally just reminiscent of classic Evil Dead. It's not like too like great of effects. It's like
Right.
good enough effects where it doesn't look fake.
Yeah.
Do you guys want me to play the trailer while you're talking about this?
Sure.
Sure, go for it.
But yeah, I mean, it's
Stand against it.
Yeah, if the line was to get into the panel to see this was any sort
And
of
there's the
indication.
girdle.
was what?
The line to get
amazing.
into this panel was any indication
Yeah.
of the love for this movie. Yeah.
It's it's just pure, like it takes place like 30 years after Army of Darkness. He's not working at S-Mart though, I realized. It's now Value Stop.
I'm gonna tell you something
Huh.
I've never told
It still
anyone.
looks kind of like the same
30 years
building,
ago,
though.
my
I
friends
wonder if
and
it
I-
It's
just got a
probably
new name.
They're
Yeah.
probably gonna do something like
I
that.
found an economic
I don't know, man. How are they?
Just bought
Shop
out, it's
smart,
fine.
shop S-Mart.
Yeah.
certain passages were recited,
But it's just
it awoke
pure
something in the
Bruce
woods.
Campbell awesomeness, and now he doesn't have to do burn notice anymore.
Right. He doesn't have to switch out
Right.
for notice.
Yeah.
Which
Is that show
obviously-
even still on?
No, they canceled. They ended. They didn't cancel. They just ended.
Okay.
year or two ago.
I guarantee you, the only reason they lasted as long as they did was because of Bruce Campbell.
Oh, yeah, he was the
a
best
great-
part of
yeah,
that
he
show.
was a great character. He was a memorable character.
Right.
Dude's got a great mind.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and like this, it's
It's-
awesome because they totally play off how old he is now, like,
yeah.
and how he's still a horn dog too. I don't know,
Man, when he
It's-
smiles, that smile on his face, that like you're just like, yeah, that's him.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's so weird too to think that this all started because of some weird ass little film that they made, and he fell in love with it, and years later decided to pick it back up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well, I love that he recognized why that first film was good. Like, because when they were making the original Evil Dead, they were trying to make a serious horror movie, and he saw it as this beautiful piece of shit that it was, and just for Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness just ran with it.
Oh, yeah.
And just embraced how crappy it all was.
I mean, Evil Dead 2 was to the next step.
It
and
was so good.
and
glorious.
Dude, oh yeah, well, Evil Dead 2, it was Evil Dead 1 continued.
Yeah.
Because they had, like, the girl from the first one didn't want to be in it anymore. So they had to reshoot everything really quick, like, and then
Yeah.
do
Yep.
whatever was at the end. And then Army of Darkness was just pure comedy. Like,
And the chainsaw is coming onto his arm.
yep, he still has the chainsaw arm, and that's just fantastic.
Yeah. The movie is just pure fan service, which is great. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Because not a whole lot of places, not a whole lot of studios will do that, where they're just like, you know what, our fans want it. Fuck it.
I
Let's just do it.
believe that the Evil Dead was fan service since the second one. Like,
Oh, yeah.
the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, totally. But, like, this actually, this is actually going to be a TV series. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is
I'm
this is
really
gonna be
excited.
my life. But I don't know. It's I really liked the Evil Dead reboot. A lot of people didn't. Personally, I thought it was just a good adaptation for a modern day, Evil Dead. It was all the creepy shit.
Well,
that,
you know what it was? It was what the first Evil Dead back in the day was trying to do. They actually just did what the first one was trying to do and actually just did it successfully.
exactly.
And that's why there will never be a reboot to the sequel, because the reason there was a sequel to the first one was because the first one was so goddamn terrible.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, you don't need to reboot the second
No.
one. The second one's exactly what it's supposed to be. Oh man.
But yeah, Ash versus the Evil Dead.
Ash versus
so that's
the
going to be
Evil
coming Halloween. We
Yeah.
have that to look forward
I
to.
think Stars is trying to pick it up and combat Game of Thrones, and
All that
obviously they
kind of
can't, completely overshadow Game of Thrones.
But they're gonna
But
do
I-
what they can to try to pull some rating.
All right,
that
they're
way,
gonna
yeah.
have this. They're gonna have American Gods. They're gonna,
I mean, if it hits
Well-
if it hits big within its first season or two,
right.
by the time Game of Thrones is on its way out, people will transition over. So
Yeah.
it's good timing.
It's
I
those
think.
Yeah.
epic TV shows.
And, Bruce Campbell is just so great. I mean, he's hilarious, but he's also, like, actually a good actor. If you've ever seen Bubba
is.
Hotep, like, he plays Elvis Presley, and he does such a great job. Like, but, all right, enough about mummies that suck your soul out of your anus.
All right, so yeah, what else have you got for us? Because I know there was some other stuff you got around
There
too.
was. If anybody's fan of The Magicians by Lev Grossman, there's an adaptation for that. Actually being produced by, I don't remember the second guy, but Sarah Gamble, who also produced Supernatural.
Ah, okay.
She and the other guy, I'm blanking on his name, I want to say like James McIntyre or something like that. They actually bought the rights out of their own pockets. They believe so hard in this, which I thought was really interesting, was that they didn't do it through a studio. They like paid for it by themselves. Bought
That's
the rights,
cool.
bought everything for
Wow.
it. So hopefully it'll be good. We saw a lot of book adaptations. Ready Player One, if you guys are fans of Ready Player One by Ernie Klein, which if you're a fan of video games or anything 80s, I suggest picking up because it's an amazing book and going to be a movie next year.
I've been yelled at by every single friend
Yes.
to read it.
Yes, absolutely. It's fantastic. What else? If you are fans of Night Vale, welcome to Night Vale, the podcast. They're coming out with a book.
Yes!
It's gonna be good.
It's going to be great. I got to go to that panel. So the two creators were talking about that. It's canon, but it doesn't fit within the serial canon, so you can read it. You can pick it up whenever you want.
Oh, that's awesome.
Does it have
So-
same like characters? I mean, it takes
Same
place in Night Vale,
characters.
right?
Beautiful,
Yeah, takes place in Night
beautiful
Vale.
I don't know how I
Carlos.
feel about that.
It's
That's
an-
exactly it. I don't want to see Carlos. If I see Carlos, I'm gonna be so disappointed.
Oh no!
because-
You're totally right because I've seen I saw who eventually became Carlos, and I was so angry.
Yeah,
I was because here's the deal. If you listen to Night Vale when it first got started, Carlos was described as somebody who was clearly in his early to mid 30s because there was he talked about the fact that there were mild streaks of gray already in his hair.
Yeah.
That was very, very obviously talked about. They changed the character to, I'm just gonna say, to a twink. That's exactly what they changed the character to. He is just a twink. Wow. I'm sure there's nicer ways I could say that, but that's the most efficient way to say it, frankly. Like that's what the character is basically now. I don't like it. I thought it was funnier that like you had this very strong male voice in love with this very strong like scientific, mind kind of guy. Like I kind of liked that more rather than like this more like traditional homosexual couple that eventually it turned into. I don't know if that's just me or whatever, but it was like why was it a big deal that Carlos was middle-aged and stuff? Why did we change that about him? I liked that.
Yeah, I'm not sure about voice because I know the first time you hear Carlos, it's obviously someone else, and then they recast him as Dylan Marin, who's the actor that plays him, who's obviously a lot younger. I don't know why they did. I still like Carlos, but the book is not actually by Cecil's point of view. It's apparently they wrap up a big plot point. They didn't obviously say what. They wrap up a relatively big plot point that's been going on throughout most of the podcast.
I hope it's the dragon.
Possibly. Or maybe the man with the suitcase.
Underground City.
Yeah, maybe the Underground City.
I would love the Underground City to get wrapped up. That'd be awesome.
And listeners, if you listen very closely, we are talking while listening to a podcast.
Yes.
While doing a podcast.
Freaking meta.
Session.
How meta is that? But seriously, listen to Night Vale.
Do it.
If you
free.
haven't checked
Do
it out, it's free. It's really, really smart, provocative, and just weird.
It is.
If you're a fan
weird.
of the works of H.P. Lovecraft, you're gonna really like.
Yeah, very
Welcome
much
to
so.
Night Vale.
However, I will say this: if repetition really starts to get on your nerves, you'll start to pick it out.
Yeah.
That was the
That's
only
true.
criticism I had throughout the entire thing, and I listened to all of it during the time that for what was out, and his constant repetition tone was a little bit too much. Like I was able to finish lines because I knew how he was going to do them. Other than that, it's freaking perfect.
Yeah. I always describe it as somebody, and I read it this way. I didn't come up with it, obviously. But if Stephen King and Neil Gaiman started a Sims game and left it running for 10 years.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's an apt description,
That's
I'd
good.
say.
So it's quirky, it's weird, it's good, and the book is coming out October. I think they said October 20th. So I will definitely be picking it up. I think it's gonna be good. Even if it's just entertaining, like obviously, sometimes you just gotta pick things up there.
Book, is this going to be a graphic novel?
Just novel.
or
Straight
just
novel.
novel. Good.
Yep.
Awesome.
Oh,
Straight
Yeah.
novel.
okay. I'm
Sweet.
sorry. I thought you meant graphic novel.
No, just straight
then
novel.
that's fine. Yeah.
I don't know if they have plans to do a graphic novel, but because they kind of branch into other things too. But yeah, this will be just straight novel.
I just thought of what story they might wrap up, and that would be the story about you with what was in that box.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good one. Everybody who hasn't listened to this is like, what the hell
Hell
are
is
they
going on?
talking about? If you want like a metaphorical quandary,
Here,
that
you know
was
what?
the story for you.
Let's just let a couple of seconds of this play so people kind of get an idea of what we're sort of talking about here.
And then they can stop listening to our podcast and listen to their podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, I was really just going to play the music for you guys to talk
To start
over.
things
Right,
off, I've been asked to read this brief notice.
That's Cecil.
The City Council announces the opening of a new dog
The
park
music,
at
if you
the
like the
corner
music, it's
of Earl
Dispersion.
and Somerset near
Do
the
not
Ralphs.
go in the dog park.
They would like to remind everyone that dogs are not allowed in the dog park. People are not
kinda what it's all
allowed
about.
in the dog park.
That and like
It is
angels
possible.
and
Right.
a black angel's changing an old lady's
It's
light
the
bulb.
whole idea is like imagine you're in the middle of Arkham from the H.P. Lovecraft stories, and this is like the town's like broadcasting station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a great podcast, phenomenal podcast, and they're coming out with a book that was written by the creators. So it wasn't like just like a fan book or anything like that.
It was actually from the
written
source.
From
a-
the source.
It's a book. Isn't it a book company that does this?
It's a books. I think it's a bookstore. And then They are being published by, I don't remember who's actually publishing them. I think it's HarperCollins, but it's probably a lie. That's probably wrong. I saw their booth, naturally.
Night Vale is Cecil Baldwin. Original music by Disparition. All of it can be downloaded for free at disparition.info.
I know they always say it
This
here at the end.
episode's weather was These and More Than These, also by Joseph.
That's another, I think,
Check out Commonplace Book.
commonplace
Commonplace
books. Yeah. No, that's another thing I like about Night Vale is the weather. I think the weather is like
the
my
weather's
favorite.
genius. What they do for the weather, I'll spoil it a little bit because like you kind of will probably just be confused anyway in the first episode.
And now, the weather.
The weather is their music segment.
Yeah.
They never talk about the weather. He just says, "And now the weather," and it just cuts to music, and then it
Always.
comes back, and then he says, "That was the weather."
Yeah.
And it's usually like unsigned, not well known
Independent people.
independent artists.
Which is that's the fun of it is that it's something you're not going to hear a lot of other places.
But it's usually really fucking good.
and it's fitting a lot of times too. They really do a good job of picking songs that kind of tailor to the episode in some way. Or
Right,
another.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
One way or another.
thing.
Okay, well that's
yeah.
that's Night Vale though. So yeah, if you guys haven't checked out Night Vale, seriously, I recommend going and giving it a shot. It's a really cool show. All right, so Night Vale's made into a book. What else you got for us?
The last kind of stuff I got is Rooster Teeth. If you guys don't watch Rooster Teeth, go watch their shit.
Okay, so here's the thing. I used to watch Rooster Teeth.
Why does that sound so familiar?
Red versus Blue.
Ah.
But they do so much more than Red versus Blue now.
Yeah, so
they're a huge company. They are.
No,
a huge
I know
company now.
that's the thing. Like when you first said that you had an interview with Rooster
Yeah.
Teeth a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh, they're a thing still? And
They're a
so
thing
I
still.
kind of looked up a little bit and was like surprised to see all this activity going. Like, can you give us a sum up? Like, what is Rooster Teeth now? Because when I knew Rooster Teeth, they did a stupid Halo video, a series of videos called Red versus Blue, and it was funny for a middle schooler, but it was kind of. I've rewatched some of those episodes. And it's like, yeah, this is not nearly as funny as I once thought.
I forgot
it
who
was.
tried. I think it was you that tried showing me it, and someone tried showing me it.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
this
it was
is-
me. It was
okay.
me, and we both
I'm
sat
just,
there. I'm like,
I'm just sitting there blank faced. I'm like, dude, I hate Halo in general. Like, why? Like,
yeah, no. So what are they like? Obviously, they've moved on to other stuff. They themselves have grown up, kind of, and
They
done other things.
Still
and-
do Red versus Blue. It's actually in its 13th season. They
Wow.
They use mocap, and they use they do others. I'm not caught up with it, so it's a lot. I guess they do a lot deeper kind of like they still do the jokes and the dumb shit, but it's become its own thing.
I'm
now.
sure the writing has gotten better over the years.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, it has to
it's
have.
different people. They have different segments. They have Rooster Teeth. They have Achievement Hunter. So pretty much, if you've watched a achievement video, like how to get an achievement guide video, it's probably been from them. So they do that. They have their own anime named called Ruby. That they just announced is they're doing their third volume coming out. They have a couple different. They do shorts. They do all that
they're
kind of
really
stuff.
just kind of like a nerd media.
Nerd production media team. Yeah, that's exactly it. They have their own podcast, which I kind of talked. I interviewed Gus Sorolla, Lindsay Jones, and Jordan Swears. Jordan Swears does their animated adventures. Lindsay does pretty much everything under the sun for the company. And then Gus is one of their original founders.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna actually have like the audio of that interview
we'll
up on
put
our
it up.
page a little bit. But why don't you just kind of cap that for us? Like, what was that like talking to these guys, and what are they up to these days?
They're super cool. Like, they're really nice. They're really grounded people. We talked a little bit about podcasting and how to keep going with it. We talked about their new not new show. They're coming into their second season it's a cartoon called X-Ray and Vab. Basically, it's your 90s Saturday morning cartoon.
Oh, okay.
About two superheroes named X-Ray and Vav that it came about from a stupid inside joke from Achievement Hunter that it was like this verbal flub, and then they just kind of started calling each other X-Ray and Vav, and then they made a cartoon about it. So actually the cartoon comes out, the second season premieres this Saturday. So it's pretty fantastic. It's short. The first season's short, the second season's getting like 10 episodes, I'm sorry. What else are they doing? And then we talked about that. We talked about their inspiration for certain things and how for this company, which I think is phenomenal, is that pretty much if you want to work on it, you get to work on it. If you want to voice act, they'll try and find you a place to voice act. If you want to animate, switch departments. If you want to go play video games, switch departments. You can pretty much do anything, which was really cool. And we kind of talked about that, about how if you want to do a project, they're pretty much going to back you on it.
That's pretty fantastic, actually. That's a really cool approach to your business.
Yeah.
That's really... I'm impressed by that. I really hope that continues to work for them, frankly, because I really like seeing things like that, and it can't always work in every company, but when it does, it's really, really cool.
And just by like the volume of what they put out on YouTube is huge. Their big project that they're releasing is a full motion picture that they put it up on Indiegogo, made like $2.something million, is actually the highest grossing independent movie on Indiegogo, like to date. And it's all about what happened in 1977 when a satellite picked up this alien signal, and it was never heard from again. So it's basically these guys, these 4 idiots who pick up this alien technology that was supposed to be meant for this military guy who's supposed to save the world. And you've got these 4 morons who picked it up, and they have to train. And
that sounds fantastic.
The trailer's up. Both trailers, I believe, are up. I'll post it on Facebook too.
What's the name of that again?
Laser Team.
Laser Team. That sounds
Team.
pretty awesome. Okay. So we're right against the first hour here. We like to on this show try to do local music whenever we can. Part of our shtick. And we've got the Frequencies here with their first 2 songs off of their album Problematic. They've got a show this Saturday at the House of Blues, and enjoy. We'll be back in a minute.
Shakes in the dead of the night. There's nowhere he
feeling much older now. That was the Frequencies, Boxcar Shakes, Villain, and Older Now off of their EP Problematic. They've got a show at the House of Blues on the 18th, starting at 7 o'clock. Go ahead and check them out if you want. They're on Bandcamp. They're on SoundCloud. Go check them out. They're a good group. Okay, so we're back now, and we are here. He's been talking to us all night, but we're here to talk to him now directly. We got Nathan Kilthorne from Affinity Archives. Welcome.
Oh, hey.
I mean, you know, we've already kind of welcomed you. You've been here. You've been talking.
I just kind of wandered in.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I think we're gonna do a thing where I'm gonna ask you some questions, and we're gonna see what answers you have for us.
Shit.
I think that's called an interview.
Yeah,
I'm totally
okay.
improvising this. Let's do it.
All right, let's.
That's how I
let's
get
go
most
for
of my
it.
jobs.
All right, cool. Okay, so Affinity Archives. Let's just start with the basics. What is Affinity Archives?
It means basically like a like-mindedness or an ability to connect. And archives. Okay, so basically we were trying to come up with a name for our game company. We were trying to come up with something, and my somebody. We're talking about names. We sat there. It was like the typical story, like fighting for like 8 hours over what to do, what name to come up with. And I'm just sitting there in the middle of the room, and somebody at some point it was like says something like Infinity, and then my programmer's talking at the time, and he says, you know, he reached into his archives, and I was like, hold the phone right there. I'm like, we're trying to connect to people, right? We're trying to like, you know, we're trying to be the indie group. We're trying to like send a message. Affinity. Archives. Instead of like, you know, naming it like the typical like game studio or whatever, let's try something else. And then we took that name, and then from there we've actually played off the name. The name helped inspired what we want to do with it, which was kind of actually share different types of media, not just games.
Actually, that was the interesting thing is we were talking about what Rooster Teeth has turned into. It reminded me as about your adventure through Affinity Archives.
I don't know if you heard the hint of jealousy in my voice.
But yeah, because you guys don't just do video games. You guys do videos of playing other games. You've got something in particular called Deves Play Games.
Game devs play games.
Oh, game devs play games.
Yep. I mean, at heart, we're game devs. What we as a designer of any type, you get your inspiration from the things around you. So down the line, yeah, we will want to do things like stories and stuff like that. But for right now, we're going to focus on games, and so we're probably going to start up a project really soon. That's my hope. Cross some fingers here. And then in the meantime, we've actually been playing games and recording them and talking about the design of them, which is a little bit different than most other Let's Plays out there because they just like to have fun and chill out. But we actually want to dive into what makes that game so good and so interesting.
Well, and you guys, and I've listened to some of the videos, and you guys do a good job with that. But you're still having fun, which is the great part of it. Like, you know, you've got videos called Let's Kill Rachel, which is one of the other devs there. And
you just explained my every Saturday night. Ooh.
Rachel would be Nathan's wife, for those of you confused on that joke there. What talk about some of the games that you guys have done so far, because you are a gaming company ultimately. That's what you plan to do. That's what you're wanting to do, is make games.
Well, Chris has a little bit more experience than I do. Actually, he's the one that kind of got me into it, and he's done quite a few more projects than I have. They've all been small for the most part, so we're still trying to like really make an impact.
This is your partner, Christopher Weiss. We're talking about.
Christopher Weiss, yeah. Someday maybe you can get him on here or something like that.
Yeah, hopefully.
I hope he's listening right now, and he's feeling bad about himself.
Chris, you could have been here.
No, but yeah, he's a bit more experienced than I do. We've made a bunch of little games. It's one called Grievance, where you have to chase the I don't even know how to describe it. The former sins of yourself around, trying to get over the fact that your wife left you. That I know. It got really deep. It was weird. So things like that. I know he made a game called Fish Slap recently, which is where you have a fish in your hand and you're slapping the bad guys. Like you just slap the bad guys. Like you try to hit them in a weak spot and kill them with it.
I really want to play that game.
Yeah, I know he's actually working on trying to make that more than just like they did it for a game. We've done a lot of game jams. He's doing it, trying to like take it out of game jam
for
phase.
people who don't know what a game jam is.
It's where you try to make a game in a very short amount of time. You'll people who aren't familiar with, like, especially indie games, people who aren't familiar with that are used to like hearing, oh yeah, 1,000 people working on a team to make a game, and we do it in about 3 years, and bam, there's Call of Duty, right? And you can make a game in 2 days, and we have a few times now, and it's a blast. And granted, those games aren't gonna turn out pretty. Art is usually the thing that they're lacking most. But it's hopefully the plan is to try to make it as smooth and polished as possible. And at the end of the day, going, I made this in 48 hours. We did the global game jam was 72 hours. I slept 4 hours the entire time. I'm not even kidding. And then I went to work afterwards. So that's what a game jam is, like making something in a short amount of time.
Oh, okay, cool. So you guys have done a couple of game jams now, and have then further developed some of those. Was where you were?
Well,
was that what you were getting onto there?
Yes, we. I mean, that's the Fish Slap is kind of like his thing, and I hope he makes something out. It'd be really funny just to like put it out on the market, see what happens. We did have a project that was going for a while, but unfortunately, slowly but surely, other people on the team just kind of fell off the face of the planet. And then that just left us and Chris, so we had to reorganize and redo a game because we planned for a game for 6 people. We had a 6-person game we were making, and now there's 2 of us. That didn't work. So we have a new idea now, and hopefully we stick with that one because it's hilarious.
Can you give us any kind of clues about what this new idea is?
So I'm sitting in a caribou and I look at Chris and I'm like, they don't have like really good Tamagotchi games on the phone. He was like, "You're right." I was like, "I want to make a game like about golems, like you'd like take the stones and put them together, like bam, got a golem, and now I'm gonna make him do things for me." And now that progressed into like this was all a joke at the time. I was like, you take your golems and there's like golem racing, and you like get on them and race them, and then there's like golem battles, and then they fight each other, and then I was like, oh, my favorite of all time, golem fishing, and it's like where you take the golem, you put him on a boat, and he has to fish, and that was a joke, but that's what we're doing now.
I really want to play this.
Wait. Is it the battling and the racing and the fishing?
No, just fishing.
Just the fishing.
We want to like do this, and we even came up with a joke name for the company that makes all the Golem games is Golem Media, like one word, Golem Media. And I know it's such my humor. And so I guess we're actually going to do this.
Wow, that's pretty funny.
There's also not a lot of good fishing games out there. I mean, besides Ridiculous Fishing, but this is going to be play very differently.
And so the whole golem thing is just the flavor of the fun of the whole.
Yeah, at first it started that way, and then we actually built a plot around it because that was inevitable. Mm-hmm. So there is a reason that there was a golem in a boat fishing. I know. Are you willing to reveal that reason, or is that kind of part of the gameplay of figuring that out? All I will say is throughout most of the part of the game, people will look at the golem and be like, "Where are you? Who actually are you? Why?" And the golem never responds to them. And the idea of a golem is it's a soulless being that does the bidding of somebody else.
Right.
So that's
okay. Yeah. All right, interesting. Okay, all right, fun stuff. So where the games that you do have available, where are they available? Where can people go to find Affinity Archive games?
Well, we have affinityarchives.com. Actually, I think that was just recently made an official thing, like just a week or 2 ago. He did that while I was on my honeymoon, and then I came back, and he's like, "Hey, look, surprise, huh?" So I think it's affinityarchives.com. I'm gonna feel really stupid if it's not, and he's probably shaking his head at me right now. But if that is the case, then good. I'm glad I was right there. You can look at that and just kind of like, I don't know if he has our older games up there or not. If not, then maybe we'll put them up so you can dig for them because, yeah, I don't actually have the answer to that right now. They're kind of all over the web right now, somewhere. I was right. Look at that.
Affinity
Archives.
Archives.com. Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of A's. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. No, actually, I actually really, really liked that name from the first time that I heard it. I thought it was really clever. And okay, so yeah, check out Affinity Archives. But so that's you guys. But obviously, as indie developers, you got a pretty good insight as to what this whole indie game thing is and what it's developed into. And so let's pretend that all of us here are totally idiots. And what is an indie game? What defines an indie game versus a AAA game? And where did this start and where has it gotten to at this point?
All right. Indie being independent, it means that you're trying to. If you're a game developer, you're trying to make a game, but you're not using the support of a patron. You're not like having some guy with a lot of money giving you money, saying, "Here, I will give you money to support you while you make this project." The problem with that that a lot of indie developers have is when that person does that, they have stock in how the game comes out. And that's generally the problem with AAA titles. If you've ever seen a game that was close to perfect and then something was added in the game that completely ruined it, it's probably because at some point a publisher or a producer at some point, they had to either rush it or they had some stupid idea like, I want my kid's name to be in the game and you're going to listen to me because I've given you money. Now, that's an extreme case, and I know a lot of people are probably like, what the fuck? You're taking it too far. But that is a possibility.
Actually, what's funny about that reminds me of Ed Wood when he was trying to make movies, is that any backer, anyone who was backing him with money wanted I want my son in this and I want to change your movie to this or stuff like that. I mean, Ed Wood was a crappy director, but I mean, regardless, he knew the plight. And, that seems to be the general consensus is like, if you get a backer, they're like, oh, but I'm giving you money, so you have to do this.
Yeah. And that's been pretty much the story forever. Back in the day, if you wanted to be an artist of any kind, if you wanted to live off of the fact that you could play music or make a painting or whatever the case was that they considered art at the time, you needed to find somebody who was willing to give you the money to do that so you could support yourself, but they had call in what you made.
Well, it's like any concert musicians like Mozart or when they would
work.
Yeah. They would work for Lords and be the Lords concert their maestro, I guess would be the appropriate term.
Oh yeah.
And all their shows and stuff had to cater around them, not about composing or stuff. It did have to do with composing, but they had to cater to their interests.
Yeah, actually, that's why I believe a lot of war art, not war artifacts, but war things have been made because at some point there was a person who was very good at engineering, and somebody said, well, if you make this machine that kills people for me, I'll give you money. And that,
totally.
That was off subject. So not killing, killing people, but in video games, right? So that's what makes you an indie versus a AAA is you're making this out of what's in your pocket, and usually when doing that means you have to have another job.
So where do you find things like if it's a Kickstarter account, would you consider that indie as well, or is that kind of like a weird middle ground?
I would still. That's actually starting to hit a middle ground. The indie scene is starting to. It's been exploding for the past couple of years. Ever since Super Meat Boy and Braid really hit it big, people just kind of jumped on the bandwagon, including us. So I can't complain about that. Kickstarter though, it pushes you in this really gray area. That's if you just get $1 million off of it or whatever, or I know only $1 million off of it.
I know that's actually not as much money as it sounds like.
No, it basically means that if you have a team of 2 people, $1 million's pretty good. If you have a team of 7, though, it means that maybe your programmer doesn't have to have a side job as well. And so he can dedicate himself fully. That's right, what that means.
Right.
So if your Kickstarter goes well, you're still independent because it's a bunch of voices asking you to do something. And the thing about Kickstarter is, unless you put a goal in your Kickstarter that says, if you give us $100, you can name a character, right? Those goals allow people to have some control of your project, but ultimately, all those goals state specifically the name has to be appropriate. So there's a lot of things like that.
You control the parameters of those requests by the people who are backing your project.
Yes, and because of that, that means you get to have control over your project still. You're not... Because at the end of the day, it's like if I find an NPC that I'm going to make like a non-player character, right? If I have an NPC just kind of like sitting in a village, I don't care whether his name is Bob or Mike, but if a player or if a backer decides they really want his name to be Mike because their name is Mike, cool, I just made $100 and they got that, and that's cool. But it's when you make like 10 million off a Kickstarter that's when I start to actually question whether you're still indie or not. Actually, my favorite game right now, like my absolute favorite game right now, is Banner Saga, and that game made a ton of money off a Kickstarter and has made even more money than that since the game released. And they're one of those few companies that I would consider an A or a double A company, because there's a few of them now. They're a group now, but they don't have millions behind them. They just have like a couple million.
So it is that gray area, but maybe just enough on like the A side of it that it's kind of like a professional grind to it, I guess. Yeah,
it's kind of like saying you're a large small business owner.
Oddly enough, I think I know what you mean by that. as ass backward as that was, I think I kind of get what you're saying. Okay, so here's my question. So you're a game designer. You make games. You play games. There's a lot of debate constantly about what is important to a video game. And I hear all the time, oh, the graphics weren't good enough, or the story sucked, or what I wind up finding hilarious is that half the time people are talking about the game, I don't actually wind up hearing about the gameplay.
Yeah. So, God, I could talk about this for hours, and I don't have that time frame. So, number one, most players who play, especially the younger ones who, and I can say this from experience, having been younger too, I was the same way. They don't. God, man, this sounds mean, but they don't know what a good game is. I know that sounds like really mean.
They don't have the experience.
They don't have the experience, and so they look at it and they're like, man, I can't wait for the next Call of Duty.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, that's a bad game. No, it's not. Millions of people sign on to it every day.
That's 'cause it's all
they're all bad players, though. And that's because, in general, like, I mean, look at it. Like, there are so many so many TV shows that people consider fucking amazeballs, right? And yet it doesn't have the masses behind it because it was so niche or whatever the case is. I just went on a tangent, but it's graphics versus aesthetics is a big thing. It's aesthetics is how much time you put into the detail of something, while graphics is literally the technological engineering behind that, or rather the computer engineering behind it. Truth be told, at the end of the day, aesthetics can always improve, but your engineering will hit a capstone, and we're starting to hit that now. And the reason why is because as humans, we can only see so many frames per second. We can only see in such great beauty. So to continue to improve graphics will do nothing for us soon. Very soon, actually. We're hitting the point where a game looks beautiful, and I've looked at that game and like, that's gorgeous. And then I looked at a game that was made 4 years ago. I don't see a difference half the time.
I've been noticing that too. Like there was this really, really ramp of improved graphics for a long time, for like a solid decade. Like every year, the graphics were just so much better than the year before. And then slowly in the last probably 5 years, I want to say, I haven't noticed the change nearly as much.
No, it comes down to aesthetics. That's why indie games will appeal to certain people, because those games are still very beautiful and they don't need to look realistic or whatever.
No, that seems to be kind of my first thought when I see a game or like gameplay. I'm like, that game is gorgeous. Like, I don't know, just even some of the, especially like you just said, indie games. Yeah. They tend to be able to get that that kind of description.
Titan Souls was a recent one. Titan Souls like hit it big, and it is, you look at it and it looks so simple, but there's so much detail in it, and it's such a short game, but it's beautiful and people love it.
You know, for me, like graphics, it doesn't have to look realistic. I don't like strive for realistic. Even the whole cell shading graphics are cool for me, as long as it's clean. As long as it looks like sharp and smooth, just like type of thing.
That means that somebody spent time on it. Diablo 3. The new Diablo 3.
Diablo 3, yeah.
I'm sorry, I get the numbers of that and StarCraft mixed up all the time. I'm terrible.
Oh, totally
I know,
fair.
I'm bad. Diablo 3. My opinion is the person who should get a raise and a promotion is the person who worked on one specific part in the game. The mechanics of the game, the aesthetics of the game, the graphics of the game, they're all subpar in my opinion. The mechanics of the game, especially when I played when it first came out, were garbage. They were terrible. And I can say that out loud because there's a lot of people that agree with me.
Oh, no, dude. Like, Blizzard will fully back you in that statement.
And that's what's so great about Blizzard. I just have to say.
They're
very good at acknowledging that they make bad things and they'll make them better.
Yep.
But there was one specific part where you walk over like a cliff edge and you see this beautiful city below you. And you like can pause it and you look at it and you would scroll in a little bit and you really start to see the detail. And then you go down into that city and it looks the same way. And that person who spent all that time on that detail on a back painting, they deserve all the credit for that entire game. That's my honest opinion, because they were probably sitting there working night and day working on that city, and somebody was like, look at Jerry over there wasting that time on that stupid city no one's going to pay attention to. Jerry rocks.
People pay attention to that shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, dude, it's like when I remember when Dragon Age first came out, like the graphics in that was amazing, and it wasn't like, it was the scenery. It was not the graphics, I guess the scenery, just how it looked. Like you can just pause the game and
Stop and
look.
smell the flowers.
Exactly. And like when games get you to do that, that's
Dragon
cool.
Age did a lot of things right, though. So,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was just one aspect of it.
But even Assassin's Creed is known for the detail they put into it, and some of the best shots are you standing at the tallest point in the game and getting that 360 eagle eye view of the city that you're in.
You can't even argue, dude. No, the aesthetics on those games are incredible.
But you notice, like, I'm playing Borderlands 2 right now, and
Oh, yeah.
I love Borderlands games. I love
they're
just
great.
the comic book look and this cartoony look and how just absurd they are. But we'll be walking through a level and, you know, there'll be just this small glitch of like shading or something along a rock that kind of looks like it's supposed to be something, but it's not. And it'll catch my attention. And when it's not something, I get disappointed. I notice. But if you put the effort into something like you were saying, like poor Jerry sitting there and doing that, but people notice, like, you know.
Actually, in the community, Borderlands is known as a fantastic game, but it's an imperfect game. Half of it is the best game you will ever play, and the other half is forgettable. It is known for having literally some of the best levels and some of the worst levels, and that's because poor Jerry is sitting there paying all his attention to one thing, and freaking, I don't know, Jack Flash over there is like, he's like, yeah, I just threw some rocks in, and then I made this badass creature look at it, and nobody cares.
Right. You're going to kill the creature, and then you're going to go tromp around the countryside.
Exactly. And so that is a good example, actually.
Well, and, you know, when it comes to video games, like, you don't need to go that, like, all out when it comes to, like, I mean, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I mean, the best thing I can say is, like, the company that I like, as far as video games go, the people who did Ico or Shadow of the Colossus and what's coming out soon, Last Guardian.
Okay, time out right there because you just informed me of something. Okay, I'm gonna admit there are a couple black holes in like nobody's perfect, right? I'm close to it, but I'm not perfect yet. And there are a few games that I just haven't played. Modest and perfect. But there are some games I just haven't played, and Ico and Shadow of the Colossus are sitting on my table right now because I recently got a copy of them. I've been waiting to play them for about 3 months.
They are amazing.
And
I mean,
I've been wondering if Last Guardian was related to them, and I couldn't find an answer or not.
they are the same company. They're not related in storyline. None of the games are related in storyline.
They're spiritual successors, is what I've been told.
Exactly. There are like similar ties to them because they're big puzzle games. They are giant puzzle games. The Shadow of the Colossus is the closest thing to a fighting game or like a violent game because you are hunting down giants but like the whole point of the game is you got to climb up on these giants and find a way to climb up on them and then find their weak spot, or when you're on them try to find a way to get to their weak spot. Like they'll give you a hint like if it takes you more than 7 minutes to do something. Like they'll just give you a hint, but they're so vague of hints. Like there's one giant in there where you have to wait for him to, you got to hide in this tunnel that's like about at his bust, and he comes down and looks, and when he comes down and looks you have to jump on his beard. Like they don't explain stuff like this. You have to kind of work it out, and that's what I like about it. And The Last Guardian is going to be like almost all puzzles. It's a boy and his griffin wolf thingy, like
really giant
adorable dog monster.
Yeah,
like you're playing that game. I watched that video, and I have never seen a trailer of a game that made me like simultaneously like almost weep and laugh and be like feel badass at the same time.
Right?
Yeah.
That gameplay that they showed at E3 was very powerful. It was moving in a very kind of odd way.
Yeah, so I feel like it's games like that, like Shadow of the Colossus, for instance, like Last Guardian, that there's been this weird thing where there's been an influx of indie games, indie companies, and a lot of them are terrible. And I hope I'm not one of them when we make a game. And so they're really bad, and it's because they just start churning out material, but they're not like actually. I mean, what's worse than a game with good graphics and bad aesthetics and qualities? A game with bad graphics and bad aesthetics and qualities, like that's the worst. And so there's a lot of games coming out like that, but at the same time, there's like some good AAAs and a lot of bad ones at the same time. And what they need to do is they need to communicate with each other and bridge that gap. And there's been a lot of talk about that, and there's only been like 2 instances lately of that actually happening, and it's been weird.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Do you know enough about it to?
I don't remember what company it is, and I'm kicking myself for it. But basically, a AAA studio, they set some money aside and they found an indie team and they hired them. But what they did is, instead of doing the typical thing where they since they're paying for you, they take the IP. Like from then on, that IP belongs to them. It's the same thing that happened with like Halo, for instance. But anyway, what they did is they actually hired that team. They gave them the money so they could continue making the game, and then they took a large amount of the profits to make up for that amount of money that they put in, plus get some benefit off of it. But the IP still belonged to that small indie company. And because of that, it was fair. The reason that most indie companies don't want to give into a AAA is because they want to keep their ideas. It's yours. It belongs to you. You should be rewarded justly for it. And so that's what they did. They basically hired an outside indie company, brought them into their house, gave them the materials they needed to make a game, and in return said, we're going to take a good amount of the profits, but you're still getting paid along the way. We're risking our money to let this happen, but at the same time, you get to keep all the rights. And it was an experiment that we don't know how well it's done yet because it hasn't come out.
Right, we have to still wait and see how that goes.
Yeah, it's gonna be a damn tragedy if it fails.
Well, actually, specifically then, like when that comes out, we should plan to have you and maybe actually your partner in crime come back and talk about that a little bit and some of the other stuff that you're doing. Certainly, when you guys are further along with this next project that you're working on, I want to hear more about it.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
But if you can stick around for a little while, we've still got technically another half an hour in the show. We started late today, but we do try to go for 2 hours, and I say that we go ahead and do this conversation that we were planning on doing, and that conversation is about Reboot.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so for those of you who don't remember, Reboot was a show from the 90s about these beings that lived inside of essentially your computer and basically suffered the consequences of you playing games. Essentially, they were the NPCs that you had to fight in video games, and if you won, you like kind of killed them. It was for a very campy show, it was bizarrely dark.
Yeah, okay, so me and Alan decided to do something last night.
Yeah, me and the professor
Or
over
the
here.
Game Meister, I'm sorry. We have alter egos,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, yes. Thank you.
So,
okay, yeah. So we took some shrooms last night and we watched some episodes of Reboot. And by the way, seriously, if you're going to rewatch Reboot, I highly recommend being drunk or high or tripping. Seriously, it's really difficult to get through.
it gets pretty scary at some parts though. So I mean, like, luckily, we weren't too far gone. We were just like kind of giggly and body buzzy and like having a good time. So, but there were some parts in there that was like, straight up creepy, man.
Yeah, it was this very, very, that show, like, kind of in the same, it reminds me a little bit of the way Avatar: The Last Airbender is from Nickelodeon, in that, like, it couldn't decide if it wanted to be for adults or for kids in some ways. Like, it really, like the first episode is clearly a kid show. It's super over the top and like ridiculously corny. But then we get to like the last 2-parter episode of the first season, and there's this whole thing where the main female protagonist is like essentially tripping, which we found hilariously ironic. And she's having these hallucinations that she doesn't understand, and it turns out it's because of the racist Chinese overlord of the city named Fong. Who
okay, well, you just described him as a bad guy.
I did totally just describe it. He's actually the good guy. He's like the guy who's like in charge of the city. He's like the mayor of the city.
He's the wise, old, stereotypical, like, Asian-looking guy.
Yeah, by the way, other thing about this show is unbelievably racist and sexist. I couldn't believe it. Like, as we're sitting here watching it, the stereotypes that are going on were just unbelievable. And the cracks being made openly about women in this show were just like, wow.
So there's this episode where, the chick Dot, like our leading lady in this show, gets in this awesome exoskeleton suit, this giant robot exoskeleton suit to, beat the shit out of the bad guy, Megabyte. And then Megabyte changes it into, virus, infects the exoskeleton so she can't control it anymore. So she's attacking our leading male, and she's saying, "I'm sorry, I just can't control myself." And then our leading male turns to the camera and is like, "I think I already knew that."
Ugh.
Yeah, like, I mean...
So
like,
fuck women,
Yeah. Like, I think that was exactly... I think we, like, paused for it, like, that happened. There was, like, a moment of, like, the TV was just going, and Jimmy's like, so fuck women, I guess.
Apparently.
It's...
is that a thing in Canada?
But okay,
because that's where that was made.
Yeah, that was
it's
Canadian.
it's
No, here, you know what it is? It's
I just
Canadians...
reversed the racism there. I just want
Yes,
to point that out.
yes,
there. Okay,
yes.
good.
No, here's the thing. It's Canadians' opinion about Americans. Because that's the thing about this show. It is so obviously from Canada, but obviously from Canada trying to be aimed at Americans. Like, they're trying to do, like, the American action show. I'm just being really Canadian about it.
Well, all right. And so basically, rundown of this show, we're kind of just jumping all over the place. But, like, basically, our main character is Bob. He is a guardian of this, like, computer, because it takes place in, like, cyberspace or inside a personal computer. A town, it's called Mainframe, is what the world's called. Our main characters are Bob, the guardian, who is apparently a new, they call them sprites. Like, there are, like, a total of 3 humanoid people, like, human-looking people, in Mainframe. The rest of them
are Modrones from D&D.
Yeah, pretty much. And, Bob is purple-skinned, has, like, dreadlocks, and, like, zips around on this weird board thing, and has this, like, iPhone wristband which has a bunch of apps and stuff like that, and does, go-go gadget crap.
That was really well explained, I just want to say.
Thank you. Thank you. But anyway, regardless of that, so whenever now when they're in this world, the users outside of this world, which is us, we play a game. We input a game, and then this weird, ominous, like, scary looking cube comes down into this world, and then it's like transparent at first, but when it lands, it goes like solid black. And if the user beats the game and beats the guardians who are trying to, beat the user, everything in that area that the cube is covering is nullified and just destroyed. So all these people are in like disarray just because we want to play a game. So it's kind of creepy.
It's really
concept.
actually. I just want to point that out there that most of the show tries to cater to something that actually makes sense, like to a degree, like viruses. Those are the bad guys. Don't like viruses. Right. That makes sense. I can look at it and go, I understand that. When I was a kid and I watched it, I never understood why an entire city block is wiped out because I played a game.
Oh yeah, no, that doesn't make sense.
Because that meant to me that if I played a game like 5 times, my computer would break down on me. Then that never happened.
Right.
Whether you were
it would take
these
like 10 times.
Anthropomorphic entities.
Yeah, I don't. That is kind of an interesting. I think it just kind of came out of a necessity of like, what is okay? Sure, they could be fighting viruses the whole time. I think they needed something else though. I think like that's what they ultimately came up with, is that they needed a way to talk about games and like these, because that was the whole point of having these people in the first place, was to play games against. I think it was just that they needed a consequence. I think it was just a very simple. We need something to happen when
there are
don't
consequences
win that
to
game.
not beating the user.
Yeah.
But I mean, going through the whole. I mean, think about it. Tron exists. They could have, taken ideas from Tron,
Oh, yeah, very easily. I mean, the whole show is very based on Tron.
Programs that fight for the user.
Mm-hmm.
I mean...
But they chose to kind of do it in this whole other direction, and I do have to respect that. It is kind of a whole other take that, like, it's very Tron-like, but yet it doesn't feel like Tron at all.
Also, the opening to that show is a lie.
Oh, yeah, no, at the beginning of every episode, he says that...
He's like, no one knows for sure. Okay, so he's saying, like, they say that the users input games,
for their amusement?
For their amusement, yeah, for their amusement. And then he's like, no one knows for sure, but I intend to find out.
Never even kind of.
No, never even kind of tries to find out about the users.
And here is where it gets hilarious, though. I gave Nathan a ride over here, and I was telling him a little bit about this in the car. This is where it gets really ironic and kind of hilarious. So the reason we're talking about Reboot is that it was recently announced that Reboot is getting a reboot, or getting a continuation at the very least. It was kind of unclear at first as to what that was exactly. A little bit more information has come out about it, and supposedly it's going to be a CGI live-action mix. And the description that they have is very vague, but it gives me the impression that we are actually going to be seeing sprites and guardians interact with users.
Really?
That was
so they're gonna fix it.
I have a synopsis.
Oh, hooray!
Okay.
This
was on June 10th, so relatively recent. The new series will be called Reboot: The Guardian Code, and will mix live-action footage and CG sequences, because the first Reboot was actually the first
full CGI show,
full CGI television series.
Mm-hmm.
And it will, the story will focus on 4 teens who realize that they are the next generation guardians of the mainframe, the mantle of the characters in the original series, who must save the real world by defending it in cyberspace.
So we're not going to get original characters?
Doesn't look like it. It looks like it's going to be more of a sequel than a remake.
A sequel? Okay.
But who knows? They might show up. Like, if they're teens that are the next generation of guardians, like, next generation of anything always needs a teacher.
I mean, if they returned, it was like, which one returned?
I would just like
probably
Bob.
Which Bob?
Oh, yeah, I know. Too many Bobs.
Too many Bobs. And one of them was cool, and the other ones were dorky.
Yeah. Actually, that was another.
The
really
one
cool
that's
thing
seen shit and like was with the pirates and stuff. Yeah.
No, here's the cool thing about this show is that it eventually gave into its darkness by like the 3rd season. Like the show they gave up on trying to make the show campy at all. Like they just went full blown like, fuck it, we're making a dark show for kids.
No, there was no humor left in it.
Yeah, and one of the things that it's kind of a reoccurring thing that keeps happening is the idea that because they're computer programs and not just living beings, they can get deleted, but there's also this possibility that they can get copied.
Rebooted, if you will.
Yeah. And
Reboot.
And so there was this idea of, what is it like when you run into another version of yourself? and what is it like when people are dealing with this new version of a person that they kind of knew but is now like this sort of other thing entirely. And like this show was amazingly deep for its time and considering who the target audience was. Like it talked about like ripples in time. It talked about the cause and effect in a major scale, and it talked about like really complex versions of good and not just like the straightforward good and evil and everything. It talked about the complexities of emotions and actions.
It was really deep at the end, because at the end, I keep talking like really far away. I apologize. So like at the end, man, they lost. The good guys lost the fight, and they came back to a world that was destroyed, and they had to beat the bad guy, but at the end of it, they're like, yay. And then,
now what?
And then things do turn out all right, but then they turn out not to be all right. But even though things turn out all right, the heroes that save the day, they're now outcasts because they don't belong anymore. And that's how the show ends. It's like, yay, we saved, thanks. You're not the Bob I used to know. Goodbye. Like, that's how it ends, basically.
Yeah. It is kind of a weird downer. Ladies and gentlemen, if any of you are out there listening and would like to chime in on this particular conversation, give us a call here at the studio, 630-599-RUBS. That's 630-599-7827. Go ahead and give us a call. We're talking about Reboot here for a few more minutes still. Give us a call if you got any sort of comments, any particular memories of the show that you might find, or anything else that we were talking about here tonight. If you want to go back and bring it up, come on and ring us up. But again, that number is 630-599-7827. We're talking about this reboot, and it just got greenlit for 26 episodes.
Yep.
They don't have a network yet, is the thing. They've got a production company, but they don't have a network picking it up, which is potentially a problem. Although in this day and age of streaming, I don't know if that necessarily is gonna be a huge deal anymore.
I think it only makes sense to just keep it to the net, or put on Netflix.
Right. Put it in something.
Right.
Netflix would be nice.
Oh my God, Netflix can please
Just do a Netflix original.
Netflix.
Since they pick up so
If
much
anyone,
now.
I was gonna say if anyone's gonna do it, if anyone's smart enough to do it, it'd be Netflix.
It would totally be Netflix.
See what I'm doing there, goading them into taking it.
Take it. Come on.
Do it.
Who was the original? It was Nickelodeon?
No, it wasn't like any of those big names.
Hang on. It was CBS. I think it was CBS was the original era of it.
I was gonna say it's like I watched it on channel 10, I think.
I think for me it was like 8.
Something like
Florida.
that.
In Florida. In Florida.
Because at that point, when because we were, at that point we were kids.
Kids.
But there was no like Adult Swim. There was no.
Toonami was still a couple of years away from happening when Reboot was a thing.
So there was no place to really put it that it kind of fit. Because even like just remembering the stuff that's on Nickelodeon, you brought up Avatar. Avatar was probably the darkest thing Nickelodeon's done in quite a while, but it grew. So I don't know. Like I think Netflix would be a great idea to pick it up, because who else? Cartoon Network, okay, fine. Like, but they're going for the nostalgia feel, and if you're gonna hit nostalgia, you're not going network TV, because the audience, our generation is. We're done with TV. We're done with network TV.
We only watch Netflix or Hulu. That's it.
Yep.
Anything, Yahoo Screen, which their player sucks, but whatever.
They had better fix that, because
blows.
I'm not watching Community until their player gets fixed, and I really want to watch Community.
But they're doing a lot of original stuff. Netflix is now doing a ton of original stuff that's, groundbreaking, obviously.
God.
So if anybody's gonna do it, I think it would be probably Netflix over Hulu.
Yeah,
but Hulu's got a lot of the like anime stuff though. Like their anime is huge.
There was like 4 or 5 good animes on Netflix, and then now those are on Hulu.
Right.
And Netflix hasn't got anything new.
Oh, well, Netflix, right now, as far as anime goes, the ones that I've been watching is Attack on Titan and Sword Art Online. Both of those are pretty good.
And they'll always have Full Metal and everything.
Didn't Netflix not have the full Attack on Titan? I think you have to finish watching it on Hulu.
I'm not sure.
I think they don't have the second season on Netflix, and that's what Hulu Hulu does with a lot of things. They're like, yeah, we'll just take the second season because
So
we
you're
know
gonna
you'll
have
come
you'll
back
come
to
back
us.
to it. Exactly. So yeah,
That is so shystery.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
true though. It's true.
Yeah,
like
and you have to
jump
pay
between
for
the
it
two.
and watch commercials.
Yeah.
See, I can't. I won't do Hulu. Get rid of those fucking commercials. If I'm gonna pay for you, I'm not fucking watching commercials.
But then you lose a lot of good shows if you
Well,
only stick to Netflix and you don't get the new episodes.
Yeah, well, these are the sacrifices we make for not watching really. Can we talk about commercials for a second? Is it just me, or have they gotten really bad in like the last 5 to 10 years?
No,
like,
I'm
have
just
they
tired
just?
of watching the same 5 damn commercials when I watch Hulu because it picks up on whatever I'm been
Oh, I mean,
googling or whatever.
yes, no, that's
But yeah,
annoying.
like television commercials, I don't watch.
You're lucky. You're complaining about that.
I know.
But you'd be surprised how lucky you are to actually see commercials that are relevant to you.
That's true.
Because even now I jump on Spotify and it's like, listen to Justin Bieber's most
Oh
recent
my
playlist.
Oh,
And I'm like,
God.
I'm pretty sure that I've dreamt about killing that kid a lot. I
Listen
don't know
to
why you're
Muse's
putting this
most
commercial on.
brilliant
Right.
new album featuring songs like, oh shit, what the fuck is the name of that one song that's terrible?
That's a terrible title. Why'd you
Baby,
just come-
baby,
Baby.
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 No. Dead Inside.
Oh, Muse?
Yeah.
Muse. Why? This is me hitting my head.
But yeah, also have to wonder if say Netflix or Hulu picks it up, are they because Netflix tends to have a trend of releasing all the episodes at once on their original stuff.
Yeah. Hulu releases
Yahoo
like.
doesn't. Hulu, I've never really watched any original stuff from them.
Okay, so you don't know whether or not it's a full.
Yeah, but
Based on the way that they release other episodes, because I've seen other people's Hulus and stuff, and based on other. Nathan's unfortunately got to get going. He's got work at his real job in the morning and stuff, so he's going to be taking off. Nathan from Affinity Archives, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you come back sometime when you're free.
Yeah, probably not.
All right, fair enough.
Go
You guys-
fuck yourself.
Yeah, you suck too.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
See you guys later.
All right, have a good one, man. Thanks for coming. We're going to still be around here for another 10, 15 minutes shooting the shit. The number, if you want to try to call in and shoot the shit with us, is 630-599-7827. Again, that's 630-599-7827. And there goes Nathan. There he goes.
Marching away.
Out the door.
leaving us.
Double slamming the door.
We have 2 doors right after each other, like maybe about a foot away from each other.
Yep. The knobs sometimes touch, but we don't like to talk about it.
It's weird.
Yeah,
I do.
Don't mention it. It's fine. Shut up. But no, because 26 episodes is pretty long. So
I especially for them, the longest season that I saw in like the old
Nah, it
series
gets
was like
13.
13.
No, dude,
it
no.
was-
Season 2 gets pretty long. Even season 3 gets pretty long.
But they were
they've
still
gotten up to like I think 20 something. Yeah,
but not into like the
22. Yeah,
mid-20s.
episode 22.
I think our producer is dying in the
dying
corner.
over there.
I don't.
He's all right.
All right. I guess I'll live.
But releasing, because just even if you look at Netflix originals, it's 6 episodes, 12 episodes. It's nothing close to, and obviously they'd be half-hour episodes, but
Right.
coming out, So then you have to wonder what their audience is going to be, because you say teenage heroes.
Mm-hmm.
In my head, teenage heroes, I think like
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
yeah, or like Disney.
The
Yeah.
reviews, and again, there's very, very little that they've talked about with this.
Right.
They're being very hush-hush about the whole thing.
I really hope.
But from what I understand, they're looking for kind of like a broad scope, so aimed at kids, kind of, but in that sort of
then
generic
you'll get the
family kind of
nostalgia
way.
kinda
Yeah, I think they're going for like family entertainment
Right.
is the idea.
I don't think they should aim it at kids. I think they should aim it at the original audience with anyone who's trying to bring back these old shows that we grew up with, that our generation grew up with. They need to get the picture is that the other generations aren't going to like it. They're not going to get it. They don't understand it. Like Power Rangers, how like I don't know if you guys heard of this, but the Power Rangers that they're rebooting, they're trying to make a dark Power Rangers.
Yeah, and I'm fucking excited.
There are actually 2 different groups that are doing it. One that's a little bit of a higher budget. They had a video that was released like I don't know,
are
like
they doing
6
based off that video?
That's what they were trying to do. The one with Dawson.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, it was a really cool video making it really dark. And then there's another like Kickstarter company that are trying to make like a couple episodes, like a mini series of a dark Power Rangers as well. Theirs looks pretty cool as well, but we'll see who wins.
I mean, the big one, the one that had like all that controversy around it, that got taken down, and then like people freaked out, and then it got brought back up. Good on the freaking out people. Well done. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I don't have any other words for it. That was incredible.
You see, and that's the thing. They're making it darker. They're appealing to the generation that grew up with it. And it's what you got to do. We grew up. We don't want campy bullshit anymore. We want our campy we want our characters that we grew up with, but we want
them grown up too.
Exactly. We want to relate to them. Like
the kind of the way that the Marvel universe has kind of been shifting. Like you've got a Captain America who is complex in dealing with major issues of like right and wrong and stuff.
Right, PTSD, right and wrong,
and
his whole world exploded.
And like maybe the American government isn't exactly the cleanest, nicest thing to be fighting for anymore.
Right.
Like that. It's awesome that we're getting there, and with that in mind, that's actually what we're going to be getting to next week. We're going to have a big old discussion about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and where that's at. We're going to be talking Iron Man. We're going to be talking Thor. We're talking all the Avengers. We're talking Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We're talking Daredevil. Anything that's relevant to the cinematic universe, we're going to be talking about.
So you guys have 2 weeks to catch up on Daredevil on Netflix.
I've seen it.
I'm
well,
done.
not you guys, but anybody listening.
Audience members.
Audience
You're kind of like looking at it.
Right? You two, I know. I've seen it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but if you guys haven't seen anything, also, I'm going to try to see Ant-Man before then. We're not going to give too many spoilers or anything like that, but we are, gonna do a little bit about that and at least talk about, those of us who saw it, how we felt about it and everything. So that's what we got looking forward to on the next episode. Thanks to those of you who stuck around tonight. We are gonna be signing off now, and this was the Geek for All show.
Go fuck yourselves.
See you guys next time.